On today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman, I'll be reading Tina's story. Please take a listen. I want to share the story of my teenage years and the effect they have had on me. As a young girl, I can say the only thing I had going for me was my height, and even that was a source of embarrassment. I have masculine features, and my height was not the graceful feminine type. Instead, I was gangly and awkward, with large feet and hands and a deep voice. To make matters worse, my mother insisted that I wore low-cut hair throughout my secondary school years. My parents were somewhat traditional, not in terms of being deeply cultural, but they just did not believe in certain types of modern upbringing. I never got the sense that we were poor or struggling financially, but we had a very basic lifestyle and not many luxuries. We lived in our own home, which my dad inherited from his father. My parents both drove, and my brother and I both went to average private schools. Throughout my secondary school, I was made fun of very often. It was either people were making fun of me for my height, or my looks, or my shoes. There was just something. I tried to fit in, but I gave up after a while because I could not stand the taunting. Even the fact that I represented my school in running did not do much for my reputation. So I just kept to myself and managed to get through my time there. One day, an incident happened that altered me forever. I was 15 and in SS2. Because I mostly kept to myself, I usually stayed back in the class at break times. My seat was towards the back of the class and I was often the only one around. I borrowed novels from our school library and I would just put my head on my table and read while everyone was away. On the day in question, one of my classmates came back from break early. After a few minutes, she asked if I saw anyone coming into the class, and when I said no, she left. A few minutes later, she came back with our class teacher, who started questioning me about some money that had gone missing from my classmate's bag. She didn't believe me when I said I did not know anything about it, and the case blew up from there. My classmate insisted that she had left the money in her bag, and her friend who sat beside her confirmed her account. I was the only one who stayed back in class, so all suspicion fell on me. When nothing was found in my bag, the teacher took me to one of the school laboratories with my classmates, her friend, and two other teachers in tow. I was asked to strip myself to be searched. I was crying and I was hesitant to get undressed in front of all of them, but the teacher beat me into submission with a cane, so I had no choice. I was thoroughly embarrassed. The money was not found, but at the end of it all, the conclusion was that no one else could have taken it. Since I had no proof that I did not take it and I was alone in the class, I had to bear full responsibility. The money was not a huge amount. I even had enough saved up from my weekly allowance. The real problem was the embarrassment and the shame which I could not live down. My mom was invited because of that case, and I told her my side of things. She believed me, but she paid the money to the girl and told me to avoid staying alone in places like that. She was not a very emotional person, so I don't think she realized the impact that event had on me. If I was ostracized before then, it grew even worse. After that, I became very self-conscious and anxious around people. I hated going to school, but I had no choice. When I got to the university, I desperately wanted my parents to pay for a room for me to stay alone, but I knew it would not happen, and it did not. I was so scarred by what happened to me in secondary school that I always made sure to leave the room first and return when everyone else would be back. So I barely formed relationships with any of my roommates. I was fearful and suspicious of people and their intentions towards me. By my second year, I started to make a few acquaintances in my class, but even then, I still lived in constant fear that someone from my secondary school would show up in that space and spoil my reputation with the theft story. Because of that, I never fully let down my guard. I managed to get through university without any incident, and I went on to work as a banker. I met my husband during my National Youth Service year, and honestly, I don't know what attracted him to me because I have never been pretty or elegant. According to him, he saw a depth in my eyes that told him there was much more to me than I was letting on. It took time, but I eventually relaxed around him. I told him about my past experience and the reason why I did not have any close friends. He became my best friend and my confidant. We got married 2 years later, and our marriage is 11 years now. We have 2 daughters who took after their father's beautiful features, but they have my height. My family is my world, and I do everything for them and with them. I hate to remember my secondary school years, and I don't relate with anyone from that time. In my job as a banker, I lay low and I do my job by the book so that I don't get into any trouble. My reputation at work as someone who will always follow due process has helped me rise through the ranks fairly fast. I have met a few of my schoolmates, but I don't even stop to greet them if our eyes don't meet. I sometimes wish I could erase that single incident from my life, but I guess I am who I am partly because of it. What do you have to say to Tina about her experience? Please share in the comments below. Remember to like this story, to share it with somebody who will find it interesting or useful, and definitely remember to subscribe to my channel. There's a link in the description box below to join the Valiant Women's Network. It's a community of women who come together to share, to celebrate one another, and to help one another grow and thrive. If you'd like to join, click the link in the description below. Till I come your way again next time. Ciao!